Hey everyone, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the federal Calm compliance system. We're going to break down exactly what you and your dental practice need to know to stay on the right side of OSHA regulations and, hopefully avoid all that constant unnecessary stress. So, if you're in a busy dental office, does the very thought of OSHA compliance, all the regulations, the paperwork, the threat of a surprise inspection, does it just make your head spin? Believe me, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to talk about that feeling of overwhelm, then introduce a system designed for calm. We'll get into the super important difference between federal and state rules, map out a 30-day path to get you on track, and finally, show you how to be inspection ready always. All right, let's dive right in. First up, the compliance overwhelm. This is that year-round challenge that I know every single dental office manager knows all too well. It really is a constant juggle, isn't it? You're trying to keep up with these super complex rules, you've got stacks of paperwork, and all the while, you've got this little voice in the back of your head worrying about a surprise inspection, right? It's a lot to handle on top of taking care of your patients. But here's the good news. What if there was a better way? That brings us right into our second section, a system for calm. Let's talk about the CALM compliance system. So, what exactly is this thing? Well, think of the CALM system as a super clear, organized, and totally supported path just for dental offices, helping you stay compliant with OSHA all year round. Now that phrase, under federal OSHA standards, that is absolutely crucial, and we're going to see why in just a minute. And this right here, this gets to the heart of it. This is not one of those big, dusty binders that you buy, stick on a shelf, and then forget about. No way. The whole point is that it's an active, ongoing system that you and your team can actually use. Okay, so what do you actually get inside the system? Well, you're looking at all the required employee training you need, for your annual refreshers and your new hires. You get ready-to-go templates and written programs, a central dashboard to keep track of everything, quarterly updates so you're never out of date, and direct support from the team. It's really the whole shebang. Okay, let's keep building on this. We're moving into Section 3, Federal versus State Jurisdiction. And listen, this might be the single most important compliance question you have to get right. Okay, you really got to pay attention here, because this is a huge deal. If your office is in what's called a federal OSHA state, we're talking places like Texas, Florida, or Ohio, you're governed by the federal rules, period. But if you're in a state plan state like California or Michigan, you've got to follow your state's own specific rules. And here's the kicker. Those rules are always at least as strict as the federal ones, and honestly, they're often a whole lot tougher. So the big takeaway here is that not all OSHA is the same. It is not created equal. You absolutely have to go to OSHA.gov and verify which rules apply to your state. Seriously, if you get this first step wrong, everything else you do could be based on the wrong rulebook entirely. Okay, so once you know which set of rules you're playing by, we can get practical. Let's jump into Section 4, your 30-day path to compliance. This is where the system really shows you how to build that solid foundation for being ready for anything. What's so great about this is that the system takes this huge, overwhelming task, and it breaks it down into simple weekly steps. So, week 1, that's your foundation. You're setting up your folders and written programs. Week 2, you're tackling risk assessments and getting your logs in order. Week 3 is all about that critical team training, and by the time you hit week 4, you're actually ready to do your own internal audit. See, it makes the whole thing feel totally doable. And right at the heart of that foundation are these 3 documents. These are the non-negotiables for any federally regulated office: your bloodborne pathogens exposure control plan, your hazard communication program, and your emergency action plan. These are the big 3, for sure. So why do we keep talking about these 3 programs? It's simple. Because these customized, signed, and up-to-date programs are literally the very first thing an inspector is going to ask to see when they walk in your front door. No question about it. And that leads us perfectly into our last section for today, Section 5, always inspection ready. This is the payoff, right? This is all about feeling confident that you know what to do and, just as important, what you need to show. So let's just ask the million-dollar question, the one that's probably on your mind right now. What do federal OSHA inspectors actually ask for first? And here you go. Here's the answer. An inspector wants to see your paperwork. They want the documentation. The top 5 things they're going to ask for are your exposure control plan, your hazard communication program, your employee training records, and they want to see 3 years' worth. Proof that your safety data sheet or SDS system is accessible to everyone, and your compliance logs for things like sterilization. They are looking for that paper trail. This is where the system really helps you stay a step ahead. It gives you an internal audit checklist, kind of like what you see here. It lets you go through line by line and ask yourself those tough questions. Is our exposure control plan actually current? Is it signed? Is our chemical inventory up to date with the latest GHS standards? It gives you the power to find your own gaps. Because really, the whole goal is incredibly simple, but it's also so powerful. You want to find and fix your own gaps before an inspector does it for you. It's all about being proactive, not reactive, when it comes to keeping your team safe and your practice compliant. And that really brings us to the final idea, which I think just captures this whole philosophy perfectly. Compliance isn't about perfection. It's about having a system that works and knowing it's working. So I'll leave you with this question. Do you just have a compliance binder sitting on a shelf, or do you have a living, breathing system that you know is working?